I'm not gonna sit here like I'm really but when, as soon as you're done talking about her, I'll come on. You know, we discussed and town board stuff. All right, everybody. It's about that time. Let's. So welcome, everybody. Glad to see a big crowd tonight. First, I want to point out the exits for this room. That door goes out the way you came in, out through the foyer, out that way. That door goes directly outside. This door goes through my office, and you can get out to the hall from there. So first on our agenda tonight, we have a presentation from Slick Fiber. Kevin?
Hi, good evening. To introduce myself, my name is Kevin Lynch. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Slick Fiber. We are a fiber to the home company providing internet and voice services and soon expanding video services. And just want to give you a little background on our company, who we are, why we're building in the town of Malta, and one of the discussions we have locating equipment on town property. Give you a little history of our company. So we were founded in 1902 in Nickelville, New York, which is a small little hamlet. We don't even have a safety light, much less a stoplight, about 30 miles south of the Canadian border. And so for the first 90 years of our life, we were a local telephone company. And then in 1995, we formed Slick, which at the time was St. Lawrence Internet Connect. So that's where the name comes from. Since then, we've grown quite a bit beyond St. Lawrence County, so we just shortened it to Slick and Fiber. We first got into residential fiber service in 2007. A small mill town up in the Adirondacks needed fiber to get their paper mill back online. And when we did that, we worked with a consortium with the county and Clarkson University and Development Authority of North Country, and we built out the little hamlet of Newton Falls and brought them fiber to the home. And that was really a change for us because up to that point, we were mainly involved in education and healthcare. We had a network within St. Lawrence County to connect the hospitals and the schools. In the mid-2010s, I guess 2010s, we built out about 3,300 miles of fiber, running from state and federal grants to build a lot of areas that people had no service at all. And we did that, finished those projects up in 2022. And then in 2023, we received some outside investment from an infrastructure firm out in New York with the intent to expand our footprint and provide some competition into areas that only had cable-based service for internet. Give you a little idea of what our footprint looks like. So the blue angle there, that's the Nickelville territory. That's our telephone territory for a traditional telco company. And then the orange is all the fiber we built out from there. So we have most of St. Lawrence County, quite a bit of Franklin County, just worked with a couple grants to connect some more places in Franklin County, then over to Clinton County. We have a lot of fiber that kind of comes through the Adirondacks, at Long Lake, Newfield, Minerva, places like that, Cranberry Lake. And we did an extension project in Warren County, so we're like in Thurman and Stony Creek, North River, North Creek, Stream Lake. And then it's not on here, but recently we got approval. We're going to be acquiring Crown Point Teletower, which is going to bring us some fiber in here connected from Elizabeth County down to Lake George. We built a lot of Washington County that we just finished up. This is very rural. Getting these folks online. And then our other projects we're working on right now is we're building out the village of Lake George. That should come online by the end of March. We recently turned up service in Ballston Spa. We have service in Round Lake. We have service about ready to turn up in Waterford and Mechanicville. So we are expanding. We'll also be building Glens Falls. Probably won't turn that up for or late spring, but we've been building in Glens Falls, Hudson Falls, Fort Edward, and Saratoga. So kind of our strategy is kind of coming from the north down, and unlike other providers, our intent is to build out entire communities. So if you look at our, this is our map of the town of Malta and where we want to build. Now, we do realize there's a few spots where Greenlight Networks is already built out. We're not interested in overbuilding them. We think 2 providers is probably a good choice. 3 is probably too much and pretty disruptive. So we're looking at those areas where we know that Greenlight isn't, but there's spectrum service. So on this map, orange indicates what is aerial, so that's up on the poles, and then blue would be what is buried service. For the aerial service, we work directly with the pole owners, National Grid and Verizon. We have a process we apply to them. There's also some NICEAG poles in the territory that we'll be attaching to. For underground work, we'll need to do permitting on that, and we're going to want to work with property owners and make sure that it's something that there is a strong interest in. We don't want to be bad neighbors and come into people's neighborhoods if they don't want us there. So we'll have an outreach campaign there. We'll work with folks to make sure that that's something they want. And by the way, please interrupt at any time with questions. It should be really informal. I didn't want to do a big fancy presentation here.
I have a couple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Would you be competing with local providers? I know you've got your own fiber, but would you be leasing fiber from them, or you're just going to,
This would be our own fiber that we would,
and you're only going to use your own fiber?
correct.
You're not going to lease?
So we do, I should correct it. For residential service, we use our own fiber. There are, so for example, right now, we use another provider to get access into Round Lake. So we lease lines from First Lake to get into Round Lake. Round Lake is connected up to Boston Spa. We lease some fiber there for those
Okay.
connections. But as we build out our own network, we'll transition to our fiber.
Okay, and you won't be competing with Greenlight?
We don't plan on competing with Greenlight.
So a Greenlight customer couldn't switch to you?
Not at this time.
Okay.
You know, that's something we could discuss in the future, but at this time, we're 2 independent companies.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
But if you're a Spectrum customer, we don't put the offer. Just give you an idea of what our pricing looks like. So all of our services are symmetrical, so you're uploading your downloader the same. One of the things that we bundle in with ours, with these prices, this includes managed Wi-Fi, which is, your home router that we can help you customize and make sure all your devices connect to it. And we also include an 8-hour battery backup. And what's nice about fiber optics, if the power goes out, our equipment stays powered up, and it's all fiber, so if you have the 8-hour battery at home, as long as the line's not physically broken, you'll still be up and have internet and phone service. And so we'll have these different packages available. We don't do promotional pricing. We try not to do any gimmicks. It's just kind of, the price is what the price is. I can tell you, I've been with the company 9.5 years now. We've raised prices once. We went up about $3 a service. So we try to keep our pricing very flat. And again, we don't do the promotional game where we give you a low rate and then hit you a year later with a higher rate. So we just try to make it very, this is what you get. Customer service wise, we have a remote workforce. So all of our customer service reps work from home, and we like to hire them within the communities that we serve. So right now, we have customer service reps kind of spread across the North Country and down into Washington County. As we expand in Saratoga County, we'll be hiring a local workforce for customer service. We'll also be hiring a local workforce for our technicians to be able to go out and support our infrastructure that we build out. Most of the workforce that we use right now, actually all the workforce we've used to date have been New York-based companies. So for our electrical make-ready work, we use a company out of All-Stable Forks called Northline. You may have seen their trucks around. For construction, we use a company called Tradesman. They're based in St. Lawrence County. What else can I?
I got a quick
Yes,
question.
Kevin, you should actually probably talk into the
Oh,
microphone.
I'm so sorry.
I don't think the people at home can hear you if you're not.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Does that price include your actual equipment in the house?
Yes, so that price is what's called the ONT, which is the device that takes your fiber signal and converts it to electrical, and then it includes the router, which then distributes the signal in the
Next
house.
question. What attracted you to Malta, saying that we have green light here and they have their fiber in the ground, and I think in the town also, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
They didn't actually complete the work that they were supposed to complete.
What was that?
Well, they didn't put fiber, they didn't put fiber optics everywhere they said they were going to, and then they just quit.
They said it was gonna be phased in, I think. Yes?
Yeah, so what attracted us is we looked at the whole region, we looked at the service map, we saw where is there no fiber optic service available, and we started building that out. And we know that Greenlight was doing some stuff, and we looked at the places they weren't, and we say, you know, it's a little bit of a race to see who can get their equipment there the fastest and get on the poles. And so there's a process, whoever applies to the pole first gets the first right, and somebody else has to come along after. So, you know, that was our philosophy. The other thing that we've done a little bit differently is we've been working on this project for probably 18 months. I've been a couple times with Cynthia to explain the project, but we keep kind of a low profile because these projects, infrastructure projects are complex. They never go the way you want. They never stay the schedule you want. And what we didn't want to do is make a big announcement about it and then 18 months later say, well, where are you guys? Because things happen. I mean, you know, the pole owners can be difficult to work with. Sometimes we get held up on DOT permits, all kinds of different factors. So.
Right.
This is really the first time we're being very public about it, but we've been working on the project for quite a while.
I didn't even hear about it.
That's kind of our
I
intent.
was surprised.
That was our intent, was to keep it low key. So like, for example, in Ballston Spa, when we launched service, we only really made a public announcement about it about 3 months before service was available. When we knew that we were gonna be able to turn things up and start providing services. So we
Are
don't
you
get
gonna
fatigued.
provide any services to the town?
So
Well,
this is-
that's probably the next part of the discussion, so
Yes,
tell them
so-
what you want from us and what you're willing to offer.
Sure. So typically what we try to do is we partner with the different towns that we provide service in, where they can host our equipment. It's usually a small cabinet and some electronics. And then we do an exchange in services, what we typically do. So just to give you some examples, in Round Lake, the Department of Public Works did not have a generator. So when we put our equipment there, we've sized the generator large enough to run their facility as well. That was part of the compensation. And then we also provided an internet connection for their, they have an auditorium, a town auditorium. So we put wireless internet in there. In Mechanicville, we're hooking up a couple of the town buildings with internet access. So these are 2 or 3 services that we do in exchange for hosting our equipment. So sometimes it's a town office, you already have it here with Greenlight. So that would be redundant, but perhaps there's we've done Little League parks, we've done outdoor skating rinks, we've done boat launches, we've done tennis courts, whatever. Really, I would look to the town and say, what would be beneficial for you?
We like town benefits.
Yeah. So
Community benefits.
community benefit. But I don't know the community as well as you do, obviously, so you tell me where it would have the most impact, and then we'll try to do that.
So, I mean, one of the things we talked about is none of our parks have any service. So, you know, Greenlight was supposed to have provided service for a couple of our parks, and they have not, so that would be something you're,
That would be
and,
something we would.
yep, and your above ground stuff goes by 2 parks, actually, that we, you know, could see service in.
And so one of the things we've done, just to give an example, in the town of Long Lake, where we provide access at the dock, they have a pavilion and they have a Little League field. So we have Wi-Fi, it's available kind of during daylight hours, you shut it off at night so that it doesn't become an issue. And then we have kind of the welcome page, once you sign in, it goes to what's happening today in Long Lake. And for them, that's a great way for people to connect and find out what's happening in the community when they're passing through.
Actually,
So
Yeah.
we could work with things like that, where they could sign in and then it would bring them to the town page, and then they'd have internet access.
I mean, we're always looking for ways to keep residents more involved, so that's interesting.
Yeah. So really, I would look to the town just to recommend where you would like that service, and then you could put that in the agreement.
And we did meet with our facilities manager and in a virtual meeting, but he thinks that there's a place that outdoors that we could have post your equipment, so. Dalton,
Cynthia, does the highway, Roger, do you have, no? So the highway department,
oh, you didn't get it from Greenlight?
no.
They have Greenlight, according to Julia.
All right. Okay.
Do we have any contract obligations with Greenlight still, and if so, how long?
We have a license with them, non-exclusive license. then right now we have some disputes with them as well, but, so I don't think, that entering a new one, I'd have to double check, would interfere with that license agreement.
Could you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, we kind of looked through it and didn't see anything in the contract that would preclude us from also hosting Slick.
One of the other interesting facts that I came across a couple of weeks ago, there was a consultant that was hired by Capital District Regional Planning. And when I spoke to him, I said, you know, there's a lot of federal funding out there to get fiber throughout the states. And he showed me this map saying that even though funds had been dispersed, there was very little amount of fiber actually added in. And I was shocked. I mean, I've heard about all these funds that were rolling in, you know, fiber optic. And he was like, here's the map. It really hasn't changed. But a lot of consultants have gotten a lot of money from him, and including him, because I saw how much he was paid, and it's almost at a standstill. Now, I don't know if it's going to go faster in the future, seeing that all the funds to the consultants have been all paid out and evaluated, but the real work hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah, there's some challenges. So a lot of the work we did were under prior programs. So the New York State and, our first big build out 2011, 2012 was actually a USDA called Rural Utility Services Grant.
Okay.
We did that. We had a $36 million grant, built out 850 miles of fiber. And then to New York State, we did another grant where we got about 2,200 miles of fiber built. I think all told that was around $49 million. We passed 40,000 homes to provide fiber. That was an extensive build out. This later iteration, they've been talking a lot about the last couple of years, the BEAD, Broadband Equity Accessibility Act.
Right, yeah.
The
Broadband.
state the first applications due on that are due Monday, I believe. The challenge is the way some of it's written. You can only do that in areas that aren't served, and so Spectrum has a pretty good footprint with the coax, that takes a lot out.
Yeah.
And what's left, unfortunately, is a very, very expensive what's left. And our costs have gone up. Since we started building in 2015, we've seen our costs go up at least 60 to 70%. You know, just recently, the rates that we pay for Verizon to move facilities on their line have gone up over 300% in 2 years.
Phone
Similar
space.
things on the National Grid side. DOT started a permit program in 2019 that added about $5,000 a mile when we built on a state highway. And anybody who looks at a map knows most small towns in New York are built on state highways, so it's added a lot to our costs.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? I don't know what the process is for us to move, but we'd have to see a contract, I suppose.
So I gave a boilerplate. If you give me a couple recommendations of where you'd like to see service of this parks, we can write that in there and get it to the attorneys.
Okay.
Do you need any, access in town roads or anything, or is it all overhead on?
Right now, everything we've done is overhead. If we do anything in the ground, then we'll go through a permit process, and folks in my office will reach out to the local or state or county, depending on the jurisdiction of the road, and
Right.
determine what the process is. And then that varies town to town.
Right.
Sometimes it's a very formal process. Other times we meet the supervisor out in the field and say, we'd like to go here.
Yeah, well, last time we had a mud wrestling match, but I think this time it would probably be a little more formal. No, I'm kidding. No, we have a permit process, an application, through the highway, department.
Yeah, everything's been overhead to this point.
Yeah.
But your proposal in the blue is to be underground?
That is correct.
Is that pre-existing, or is that digging required?
Typically, it's gonna require digging. We use directional boring, is what we typically do. So you have a small pit, directional bore, push conduit
Right.
through to the next pit,
Right, so they're not digging up people's front yards.
correct? Or driveways or anything like that.
Right.
So,
Okay, if you want to send, I'll touch base with staff and our Director of Parks and Rec, and based on your map, we'll see if we can find some areas where you might be of use to us, and you can plug them into the boilerplate, and Steve will lawyer it up.
Yeah, just
does.
so,
Any other questions?
yeah, just so you know, I think there'd be two agreements. One to license to use the town facilities, and then secondly, agreement about the permitting process. But we'll work through that. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Be in touch. So next on our agenda, because it's our business meeting, at our business meeting, every month, we recognize a resident of the month. And this year's, tonight's is Kimberly Westervelt. If you want to come up, Kim. So Kim Westervelt has been a member of the Malta Ridge Methodist Church since 2016. She's the chairperson of the monthly Soup and Sandwich program. Along with other members of the congregation, she puts together full lunch bags for 2 motels in the community. The lunch bags include soup, sandwich, piece of fruit, cookies, candy, a bag of chips, and during the winter, they offer packets of hot chocolate, and in the summer, they offer tea bags. The sandwiches could be, they're ham, turkey, or bologna. During the fall and winter, they open the doors to feed the community. She asks people from the congregation to make soup and help serve those who come to enjoy the food and conversation. During Christmas, I think I have my microphone on, so sorry. During Christmas time, they purchase gifts for children that live in one of the motels. At Easter, they put together Easter baskets. In the summer, they continue to provide bag lunches for the motels. Malta Ridge Methodist Church has been serving the community in the soup and sandwich mission the second Saturday of every month for about 15 years. So congratulations, Kim. Thank you for your service. So, the whole board's gonna come down, you get a picture with the board. I was gonna invite up her posse, which is over there, but they say they don't wanna come up for the picture, so. She's got a following, so come on over here, get in front of the board down.
I get on the end always anyways.
Gotta get the internet so that'll let more.
Congratulations, and thank you so much for the good.
Of course, the guys have to saunter now. Congratulations, Kim. Thanks for the good work. Next, I will ask you to stand if you can and salute the flag, and we'll take a moment of silent prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Next on our agenda is to accept the town clerk's minutes from our January 27th meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Comments from town residents?
Hi, Mark Johnson, 2218 Route 9. I just want to give my support to the projects on the agenda tonight, the 2354 Route 9. It's going to add, housing in our town, which we we need. We're not just a commercial town. We definitely need housing, and there is a housing shortage out there. If you look at the dollars, it adds $75 million to the assessment, which is about an increase of 2.7% to the tax roll for their town. So it's a big project. It is viable to the town. Also, it helps the consumer or the local businesses in town. We've got people in here that are business people that own liquor stores and pizza places and restaurants. We don't want to drive to Saratoga to go buy a pizza. So by increasing the town residents here, we can obviously keep those businesses here in town. So the other thing is the project would clean up a part of town that's pretty kind of an eyesore. If you look from the southernmost roundabout going north, that area needs a little TLC in our town. This project obviously is going to help beautify that area. So really quickly, again, the project can enhance our local tax base, improve our community appearance, and stimulate our economy. So I hope the board would take a favorable approach to this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi, my name is Tim Halliday. I own a business right at 2296 Route 9, Victory Funding and Living Well Realty. I came to this area I came in the late 80s, but we started our business in 2006 because I really felt like Malta was up and coming. It was, Global Foundries was a rumor. And so I was right. The place it's really grown and blown up. It's the next natural development between Clifton Park and Saratoga Springs, but Malta has something that they don't have, which is an employment base that is just second to none. I think that this project, and my property at 2296 is right next to an eyesore that you correctly pointed out, that people coming to my office from the north past this abandoned building covered with vines that I keep praying will get struck by lightning. And so they're past my office before they can even see it because it's on an outside curb. So it's not a good look. As you know, nationally, I'm in the real estate business. I've been in the real estate business. I've known Jeff for a long time. I wouldn't say we're friends, but we're acquaintances. We're colleagues. We've been in the same business. I will tell you that I know Jeff by reputation, and he has a spectacular reputation. So I appreciate doing business with Jeff, and I think he'll be really great for this project. When I look at the market, and I look at the market daily, I see that housing is naturally a shortage. I mean, we have like 1.3 months of inventory, which is just extremely low in our area. Malta has a worse problem. We're about to double Global Foundries, and without more residential buildings, my concern is that we're going to push people to Mechanicville, Paulson Spa, Saratoga, Clifton Park, and we're not going to retain them for the businesses, for their own privileges and being part of the town. One of the things that I like about this is that it covers the whole gamut of housing, including attainable apartments. Now, they're not low-income apartments. One thing that as a mortgage broker, I work with a bunch of people at Global, and they don't all come here to live. Some of them are here for 3 years to build their resume, and they go on to another big chip fab. And so they need places to stay, and market rate rentals are needed in the town. I don't think it's going to be a blight whatsoever. There are plenty of wonderful rentals places that are well kept and well maintained and that provide a benefit to the residents. And I like that aspect of it. And then again, condos, townhomes, and single family homes. I think it's a great project. It'll definitely enhance the area around my site greatly, and I'm looking forward to it. I think housing is the right answer in this. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm David Rosenberg. I live at 40 Copper Ridge Drive in Mechanicville. What he said. Yes, I won't repeat any of that. The only thing I'll add to that is I think This board may be quite surprised at the occupancy rate of the major apartment buildings in the area right now. It is up in the 90% range. The exception to that would be Granville, where they just had the new units built, but from last I heard, they are filling those at about 10 units per month, which means that a year from now, they'll be full. So there is a need for housing. The second thing I want to talk about is what we just sat through. And I think something that was lost is the vision statement of what the comprehensive master plan says. So let me remind you that Malta envisions itself as a place where people can raise a family and take pride in their community, its beauty, appearances, businesses, services, and natural resources. The quality of life will be maintained by providing decent job opportunities, quality services, affordable housing, and personal fulfillment. Malta will continue to preserve its important natural cultural resources by maintaining the rural character of the town of Malta. Malta is capable of accommodating carefully planned growth with protecting agricultural uses, open spaces, environmentally sensitive lands, and historic and cultural resources. Current maintenance programs, infrastructure, roadways, and drainage systems will be continued. Existing sites, homes, and businesses will be maintained and beautified by encouraging community pride and civic involvement. The Malta Business and Professional Association, feel free to change that to Malta Business Works, neighborhood associations, and service organizations should be encouraged to participate in Adopt a Highway programs, offer beautification awards, and sponsor activities such as holiday decorating contests, and maybe even a tree lighting ceremony. To that, I think there's many reasons and thoughts of increasing our tax base to help the town stay out of its fiscal foreseeable trouble, and commercial development and residential development that is balanced will allow the board to make fiscally responsible decisions as well as responsibilities to the community to allow it to grow and the business environment to stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Good evening. My name is Woody Sloat. I'm a resident of 3 Homestead Commons, Baltzan Lake, which is in the town of Malta. Thank you for allowing me to talk. Thank all of you. Indulge me for what you're going to hear. Okay, tonight's action items. Number 5, designate on-call positions in the employee handbook. Okay, I am part of the judicial branch of government, and for the last 2 years, I've documented the number of on-call times I've come in. It's an even 100. I looked at your form over there, and I didn't see my name on it, but neither was I asked how many times I've been called in. Now, those on-call things I'm talking about, it's limited to arraignments. It doesn't talk about them when I come out for search warrants, in the middle of the night, most of this stuff. So I see this, and this wasn't part of our budget discussions, and now I see it on here. To give a person a vehicle is probably a $5,000 raise, and that's probably an underestimate, okay? I wonder about these people that you're going to add to our already on-call scheduled, how many times they've been called out. I get called out. I'm online 24/7, and I get called out a lot. Okay, so when I see this, I find that it's discriminatory towards the judicial branch of government. And I want you to think about that when you make your decision tonight. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Woody.
Do you have a copy of that resolution right there?
What resolution?
Actually, or we're just discussing this.
Judge Sloat, are you asking for a vehicle, or are you asking that the other people not have vehicles?
That's your decision.
I
What
mean-
I'm saying is, did you look into it? Nobody asked me how many times I've been called
Right.
out, and I also wonder how many times these other individuals.
Well, one thing is, Matt, there is no vehicle assigned to his, to the court. The others have vehicles assigned to them. And for the most part, these are people that have been taking vehicles home, and we just, in accordance with our newly adopted plan, they're supposed to be authorized to take them home by the town board. We are adding water. But otherwise, it's, in theory, it's for in an emergency, they can get here and dispatch the workforce out in a faster.
So, I'm confused here. It says, so the town board designates the following on-call positions under the vehicle usage plan. Highway superintendent, facilities manager, working supervisors, water superintendent, and water assistant superintendent. All those positions, all those people are getting a car to go home with?
Yes,
They are.
yes. They actually already, I'll take them home, so.
We got that many we got that many cars. I haven't seen the fleet of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars around here to take home.
There are,
There's
a lot
5 cars to take home.
Yeah, well, there's 3 cars that are over in the highway, trucks, that are over in the highway department. We have, well, 3 vehicles for the water, but 2 go home.
Well, I think Woody brings up a great point. If he's logging 100, believe me, I like to see what the other on-calls numbers are before I dare even think about approving this resolution.
Well, we'll discuss that when we get down there on that agenda.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
There we go.
Any other comments?
I haven't seen you all in a long time. Nancy D'Onofrio, Wineberry. So back to Fox Wonder West, still wondering, is the police barracks going to go there? If it does go there, how is it going to affect Dunning Place? Mark's building $700,000 homes there, and we have concerns about that development being, adjacent to the police barracks. Having said that, where the water filtration piece is, their driveway is going to go. The police barracks driveway is going to go adjacent to that. So we're going to have 3 exits in a very small span. Still concerned about the police barracks being there. There's a lot of tree droppings related to Dunning Place going in, which is foreseen. So I wanted to just say that we're still against the police barracks, and I know it's a moot point, but Fox Wonder West is still concerned about it. The second piece of that is the frequency tower. Now, we expect that the board will not allow the frequency tower to be moved to Fox Wonder West, and we need assurance that that will not be granted to the New York State Police. Therefore, if it's going to remain on Route 9, wouldn't it behoove the state police just to gut down that building, rebuild there, and keep their frequency tower right behind their building? Otherwise, because they're going to have to buy the piece of property that is already established there with the frequency tower on it, because nobody's going to purchase the little spot that's left with this thing behind it. So I just want the board to know that we haven't lost interest. You just haven't seen me particularly, and you haven't seen others just because we've been working on other projects in Fox Wonder West. And we would appreciate that the board would continue to listen to our concerns about the removal of additional trees in Fox Wonder West.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So it is my understanding that, that they've, awarded a contract for building the police barracks. I don't know how far we are on that. I did reach out, I think yesterday or the day before, to the state police to inquire about the tower. I have not heard back. So I'll try to keep on that and get you some information about that. I mean, they know that the residents don't want it moved and the town doesn't want it moved. And I was told early on that the logistics of moving it were very complicated. So I'll keep you posted, though, if I hear back.
I'm against the tower going there, and nothing concrete. What I heard was that the tower is not going to go to the new location, and I did ask that very question, Nancy. If the tower is going to stay where it's at, why not just knock down the old barracks and build a new barracks? Yeah, the answer I received was there's just not enough footprint there for the new building, the more space they need between the vehicles and the building they want. And as you know, my stance has always been where the old My Way Cafe would have been ideal, but nothing concrete, but that's what I understand.
Jim Thoman, Avondale. This is nothing against any developers that want to come to the town, because obviously if they're attracted to town, we've got something to offer them. Now, thankfully, with, you know, a lot of developments that we've had and businesses that we've had to the south and north of us, there is a way to keep Malta with that nice small town feel without us turning into being overdeveloped with also too many businesses that we don't need. I mean, we are starting to see the fruits of some of the developments we've had in the last couple of years come in, and we're seeing house prices that are astronomically high. And even though, because the town can't set those prices and the developer can't set those prices. Working in what I've done is we've had developers, once the project breaks ground, they wash their hands and they walk away, because that's their job. That's their business, is to get the stuff built and approved, and then they can walk away. Some people see it through all the way through to the time when things start getting sold, but that's not usually the case with developers. I wouldn't be in the town if it wasn't for a developer, because gone are the days, at least in this state, of somebody buying 50 acres to just put one house on because they want it. Most people now, I mean, I have a good friend who just recently bought a home that they built from scratch and have more money than I could make in 2 lifetimes. And they're in development with another house 100, 200 feet from them. So and rules and regulations of what you guys decide in these workshops mean nothing. And this is why who we vote for board members and who you guys appoint as your surrogates on the planning board, which they are, in essence, kind of, they're supposed to share your vision. So they're supposed to be, in a sense, kind of following the same rules that you guys are. So you guys are still kind of responsible for the decisions they make. So this is why, you know, elections do have consequences. So rules mean nothing if we can just grant variances and allowances for people depending on how much money they're bringing to the table. And this is why we need to keep the vision of what he read off in that comprehensive plan stays going forward. So we need to make sure that if this is what we want to do, because if we're all playing by the same rules, and property rights, people do have those, but I, as a single homeowner, don't have the same rights the way I'm seeing it lately with the kind of developments that have happened and the variances that have been granted as somebody who brings a lot more money in. And most of the developments now are all right on top of each other. And that seems to be a trend that's not going to stop unless we stop it. And that's why the moratorium is important, to make sure that if you guys all decide, and everybody who keeps voting decides that that's what they want Timber Creek, one right on top of each other, that's what we have to deal with, and Malta will forever change. You know, everybody says, you know, they love something and then they want to fundamentally change it. I never understood that. If you love something, wouldn't you want to maintain it? You know, you don't marry somebody who said, I love you, but I want to fundamentally change you. It doesn't work that way. So if we're going to keep going the route we're going, which all the stuff that's been approved that won't be affected by the moratorium, all those houses that are being built in these new developments, they don't look like the vision that is being laid out. And I just want to make sure going forward that you guys follow whatever rules you guys set for you and the planning board. Because as of right now, what is said in that comprehensive plan and what's been approved, it doesn't jive. So anyway, that's all. Thank you.
So Jen, is the public seeing the meeting? With the photo still up? So is the public seeing that?
I can't see what the public.
Okay.
I'm relying on.
They're seeing the meeting? Okay, thank you. Just checking. Anybody else? Okay, with that, we'll move on to comments from town board members and department heads. I have one thing that I want to point out, in this week's edition of Saratoga Today, which is the free publication. Our town historian has a full-page article, very well written, very interesting. It is a story about a Pulitzer Prize winner that lived in Malta during her life, and it's Anne Porter, and it's really interesting. If you want to learn a little bit more about one of Malta's favorite sons, pick up this week's copy of the Saratoga Today. Anyone have anything? Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to tonight's discussion items. First, we talked about this last week. We got a request from the receiver of taxes to consider changing her position from an elected position to an appointed position. We never really made any decision about whether or not we were interested in entertaining that, so I'll ask the board, where stand ye?
I have a couple of questions about that. This person would then become an employee of the town, serving at the pleasure of the town board, is that correct?
Yes,
If this change was to be made?
yes, it would be an appointment for a term.
Okay, and also, would the town board have the authority to set things like working hours, conditions? You must be available from X to Y on day X to Y, is that
I
correct?
would think we probably could. We'd have more authority over it than we do now.
Yes, you, like any other appointed position, you have a job description and duties and what needs to be accomplished, and
Yeah,
if necessary, times it's open.
Yeah, I think elected officials can come and go as they want.
Right, but we'd be changing that.
For the most part, yeah.
Well, the difference of being an employee versus an elected official, I mean, technically, we're employees too, but it's, what other changes, Steve, maybe you could tell me, would be as far as this person, as I said, they'd serve at the pleasure of the board, so the board could theoretically hire and fire, is that correct?
Yes. Well, once you appoint them, they serve for the term they're appointed for unless you have cause to fire. So if they didn't do their job or
Okay.
some other reason that
I
justified
don't
it.
want to put you on the spot, Jen. Is there a certain population number that kind of triggers for the tax assessor,
Tax receiver.
tax receiver to be an elected position? Is there a norm on that? Do you know? Does the town have to have like 20,000 and then we should have a tax receiver elected? Is there any precedence on?
I know that it's based on population, whether you're a tax collector or a receiver of taxes. It would become a mandatory referendum to the people. They would vote whether that position were to be elected or appointed. There is population status on different sizes of towns.
I mean, our decision would be whether or not to put it to a public referendum, not changing it. The last time that this was suggested, it was overwhelmingly defeated. Just for information, I don't remember when that was, 2016, 2017?
Hey, Steve, I have a question. What if somebody wasn't interested in running for that?
If we couldn't find a candidate?
Yeah. Does it come back on the town board to appoint somebody, or?
Yeah,
What's
that's
the-
a good question. I haven't looked into it previously to see what happens if you can't fill an elected office, but generally speaking, when there's a vacancy of office, the board has the right to appoint someone. So I would have to look up specifically, but, under the town law.
Just thinking about all the options in here.
Yeah. So my understanding would be yes, that we have the ability to appoint, someone if the office is vacant. So that's what would occur if nobody ran.
And if
we decided to switch this, it would have to be a referendum, true?
Correct, a local law and then a referendum. Yep.
Okay.
Do we know why the change is being sought?
No, not particularly.
What was the question? Paul, I didn't
We
hear.
know why.
Yeah,
She's asking.
why it's being sought.
I don't want to give the answer that was given last time, but,
Well, you're not going to hold out on us?
what's that?
You're going to hold out on us?
Oh, it was because she didn't want to campaign. That was the answer that Cynthia gave us last time.
I don't think I said that.
Oh, yes, you did. It was very specific. I caught it right there and I wrote it down.
I do not know the reason the request was made. I have.
Go
a
to the
suspicion,
videotape
but-
from last board meeting. Caught my eye, caught my attention very much. Anyhow, I'm against it.
Wasn't a hot mic.
I don't think I said that, but if I did, I retract it, because I don't know that to be.
I'm only using that against you, Cynthia, because you did say it. That's why.
I think it was done in a joking manner.
You're looking for the board to make a
I'm
decision?
looking for the board to make a decision about whether or not.
I'm against
I
it.
mean, Al says he's opposed to it.
I'm opposed to it.
Anybody else?
I'm
Any
opposed
opinion?
to it too.
Yep,
Keep it as it is.
yep, okay.
Steve, do they need a formal resolution for this?
No, they
No.
Okay.
They would just
We
need
just
to.
don't move it forward. So next, we are re-entertaining the mixed-use development at 2354 Route 9, mixed-use development. You'll recall this was a 127 acres property on Route 9. It's near the bypass on the west side of Route 9. We as a board met with the developer. They did an initial presentation. We had 2 different workshops with them. This board recommended changes, and they came back to us, and we agreed to give them, once those changes were looked at, we agreed that they should make application. They have done so. They have paid the fees. We have a complete application. And so basically, the next step for us, if we want to continue to entertain it, is to refer it to the planning board, our planning board, the county planning board, and declare ourselves lead agency. And I think we have Mr. Lansing might want a few remarks, or, I don't know if you do or not.
Sure, yes.
There for
Good evening, Scott
questions.
Lansing with Lansing Engineering, representing the 2354 Route 9 Mixed Use Plan Development District. As was mentioned, we have been working on this project for quite a few months with the town board. So I wasn't planning on going through a detailed review of the overall project, maybe just the highlights that it is approximately 127 acres. It is a mixed-use plan development district. Does include the demolition of the existing structures on the parcel, which have been outlined as being in a rough condition on the parcel. It is a mixed-use PDD, which includes single-family townhomes, condominiums, and multifamily apartments. Access is a mix of both town roads and private roads. Majority of the roadways in the project will be privately owned. As far as parking, we meet and exceed the town's requirements for parking. It is served by public water, public sewer, and stormwater is managed on site. As far as the community benefits, I think this is a good thing for us to highlight. First off, there are the mix of uses. We do think it does provide needed housing in the town of Malta. The demolition and the cleanup of the structure, there is an environmentally a concerning site on the parcel that the applicants are agreeing to clean up. Over 72% of the overall parcel is green space, which is shown, I think, quite nicely by the picture that we have, the drawing that we have up on the screen right now. We do provide buffers and screenings to adjacent properties, to constrained lands, and also to the commercial land that is located in the front of the parcel. We do include a 1.5 acre active passive park. There is a connection to the Zim Smith Trail with a connector, a road connecting to the Mid-County Trail, with a parking area. And then last but not least, the applicants are proposing a sidewalk system which extends approximately 2,800 feet to the north, which is a
a desired pedestrian connection that the town does have. Above and beyond that, looking at the water fees, the GEIS fees for traffic, parks and rec, preparation fees, open space fees, and building permit fees, we're estimating approximately $1 million in revenue to the town from those various fees, mitigation fees. That is essentially it. We're here this evening. Again, we have been working with the board for many, many months on this. It is something that we are looking for a referral to the planning board. This is a multi-step process with the planning board and the town board. We're at the first step with the town board. A referral to the planning board would allow us to present the project to the planning board, obtain feedback, input from the planning board. They would make a recommendation back to this town board. And then at that time, if the town board does see fit, we would advance with the legislation and the public hearing and possible approval of the plan development district. So we're looking to take that next step to gather additional input so we can come back and advance the project. That's essentially it. Any questions? I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. Thank you.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I've had a real concern about Route 9 frontage, that house there and the auto station getting cleaned up. It really is an eyesore. And at this point, I would like to see this project put forth to the planning committee for their input back to us.
Sure.
Well, we do have a resolution prepared. If the board wants to act on that tonight to get it on the planning board agenda for this month, I think you have them. If you want to pass them out, we can look at it and have further discussion. This resolution was, vetted by our town attorney also. I don't, I'll read the resolution, and then if we have any questions, we can see if we want to move this forward. Whereas an application to establish 2354 Route 9 mixed-use development, proposed development district was filed by New York State Development Group on January 31st, the PDD application. Whereas the Town of Malta Planning Department has deemed the PDD application complete. Whereas the Town of Malta's zoning code requires the referral of the PDD applications to the Town of Malta's Planning Board for its review and advice. And whereas General Municipal Law, Section 239-M, and the Malta Zoning Code require referral of PDD applications to the Saratoga County Planning Board for its review and advice. Whereas the PDD application is subject to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Section 617, SECRA. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board acknowledges the receipt of the complete PDD application for 2354 Route 9 mixed-use development, plan development district, and be it further resolved that the town board refers the PDD application to the Town of Malta's Planning Board for its review and advice regarding PDD application, and further be it further resolved that the town board hereby refers the PDD application to the Saratoga County Planning Board for its review and advice regarding the PDD application pursuant to the General Municipal Law, Section 239-M, and the Malta Code. Be it further resolved that the town board appoints the town board as lead agency under SECRA for purposes of environmental review of the matter. Oh, that was the end. That was resolved. So, I don't, are you willing to entertain it tonight, or are we ready to entertain it?
I would so move it forward.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Yes. I don't see where the public need is that we want to approve a PDD that's already zoned R1. Why not just keep this R1? That's what, I haven't heard any good reasons what the public need is to approve this PDD. Also, the public benefit, I don't see meets the threshold of, what is it that the town, why does the town need to approve this PDD versus the R1? What's the public benefit? That I don't see it.
That hasn't been clarified. This is just to bring it forward, I think. Isn't it, Steve?
Yes, this resolution as drafted is under our PDD legislation. When an application is complete, the town board has an obligation to refer it to the planning board within 30 days, unless it determines that the PDD application clearly does not meet the objectives of the comprehensive plan. So the way our code is written, they've basically gone through some processes, pre-application vetting with the town board to get a feel for whether or not this was a project that was worth advancing. They have now finalized it, paid all the fees, and are asking us to take the next step to move it on to the planning board.
I like the single-family homes. I like the townhouses. I support issuing special permits for more two-family homes there, but I would like to keep this R1. Unless there's, you can articulate the public need to approve a PDD here.
So Steve, has it met all the requirements for the board to submit to the planning board?
Yeah, the application's been deemed complete, the fees
Okay.
have been paid. The decision that needs to be made by the town board is to move it forward unless it clearly doesn't meet the objectives of the comprehensive plan.
Right.
The application,
But does it meet the requirements of the
meet what you're
comprehensive plan?
that's not a legal, I mean, there is a legal element to that, but that's the board's
Okay.
determination because the standards do not clearly meet. So the presumption is that it would be moved forward, and the rationale for that is because the planning board, that are deemed to be sort of our experts in the town with planning, and they are going to review it and get into the nuts and bolts of all of this, make suggestions, possible changes, and then have it come back to the town board. So what the town's doing tonight has really no bearing on whether the project will be approved, and the discretion as a legislative action is still within this board. It's to get that necessary feedback from the planning board. And I think that's why it's written the way it's written.
Thank you, Steve.
Any other discussion?
I'm gonna make the motion.
You did. We had a motion and a second.
And that's,
Yep. Well, I'm going to ask that the clerk do a roll call vote, if that's okay.
Councilman McLaughlin,
No.
Councilman Warner,
yes.
Councilman Ricky,
Nay.
Councilwoman Connor,
Yes.
Supervisor.
Yes. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we will move on to our action items. He said no. The first one is to adopt a local law, amending section 136 stormwater management erosion sediment control for the town code. This will allow our stormwater management officer to regulate storm Second, anyone?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to authorize the 2025 intermunicipal agreement with the City of Saratoga Springs for animal control services. This agreement allows our animal control officer to provide services to the city. They will then assume the liability and reimburse the town of Malta for his time at a particular rate.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to authorize the New York State Department of Transportation permit request for the town of Malta for our Military Veterans and First Responders Appreciation Day Parade on May 10th, 2025. the parade closes Route 9 for traffic during the parade and the multi-mile road race.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to establish the summer rates of pay and authorize staff for the summer people for the community center programs.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next is to designate on-call positions per Section 408 vehicle usage of the employee handbook. Basically, this is for the supervisors and working supervisors that are called in the event of an emergency, so they can get stuff moving faster. First, to entertain a motion, a second before discussion.
So moved.
Any second? Second. And then I think there'll be discussion. I mean, one thing is, just let me say one thing is the practice has been that for years they've been taking them home. We're just trying to actually authorize them.
Well, what was that practice?
They take their vehicles home.
Who's they?
The two, Roger Crandall, the two working supervisors for Roger. And now we have water personnel that are required, they basically have mandatory overtime, all of these people. So we're authorizing them to take vehicles home, and we were adding, the only person we're actually adding here beyond that is the maintenance working supervisor.
Is the water personnel, are they actually maintainers or just, the supervisor?
They're both, they're working supervisors.
Roger, how many times you were called in to use a vehicle, that you used a vehicle from home? Ballpark me.
Every
Is it
time there's-
5,
every time there's-
500, 100? In the last year, way over 100. That's fine, I'm just asking a question, I'm not,
I mean, the other thing is it's a situation where, there's, National Grid calls them because there's a tree down in the middle of the night during a storm, rather than calling somebody in who has 45 minutes to get here. They can.
Well, Roger's, you're an elected official, right, Roger? You live in the town of Malta, right? All right, so from one end to the other, it ain't gonna take 45 minutes to get nowhere in this town.
No, but if they call in somebody else, these guys then can just do it,
What,
the work themselves.
What's the downside?
Yeah,
cost? Taking a vehicle from here, the domicile, increased risk of accidents, insurance, equity. If the judge is called in 100 times and we got a brand new 2 people from the water department that's barely been hired yet, and they've deemed already they get a car, I think we need to be a little bit more, a little bit more discussion about it. And I would like to get facts. If you've taken in 100 and that's 100, man, that's a lot of gas. And we could probably calculate how much the gas receipts are for those vehicles, because is the log done daily on those vehicles from point A to point B? So we're not doing a daily log? You're not making a case for yourself if you're 2 miles away.
I mean, we have talked about having logs. They should be logging.
Listen, I'm not saying if we have vehicles and, and the importance of our personnel that do important jobs, I'm not saying no across the board, but I just like to get a little clarity of why the judge who has to come in, it's not like, hey, the tree's down and it ain't moving, and Roger ain't lifting it by himself. No offense, I'm just making a point, Roger. I think you do deserve a vehicle. I'm just using you as an example.
Well, one thing is these employees have mandatory overtime, so there's that. The judge is coming in for arraignments and things like that, but a lot of judges don't do that. I'm glad he does. He does come in.
Sounds like we should.
It's not mandatory that
He gets
come in.
called in though, at 3 in the morning. The other thing is why are we sending out more than 1 truck per department? on call. Should be one. That should be,
Listen, I'm gonna agree with Craig.
that should be
We got two from the water department and two from the highway department.
the decision to take the work forward and call somebody in.
Listen, at a minimum,
3 trucks.
listen, at a minimum, we need to table this. We need to see some numbers. You know, to me, this is running operations, fuel costs, wear and tear, maintenance on our vehicles is a high dollar item to maintain and preventive maintenance, you know, and the oil changes and stuff. So if we're just putting undue, you know, mileage to go back and forth to work, right? Because if you're not called in, you're still using that vehicle to come back and forth to work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With respect, I couldn't disagree with you more. I think that we have amazing people who work for this town.
I agree.
If you haven't lived in another town for a while, you know, you could be there at 10 o'clock in the morning waiting for the plow to go by.
We're not talking about the plow, we're talking about the guy.
I know. My point is, either this man is elected in his own right, and either the community trusts him and his judgment, or they don't. But they keep reelecting him, so I'm assuming the community trusts him and his judgment. And that if he says this is needed, that this helps us respond to emergencies, I trust him and
I
believe
think you
him.
missed the part when I said he deserves a vehicle. Did you miss that part? Which I said Roger does deserve a vehicle, and the roads are one of our best assets in this town. I'm just being devil's advocate here, but I do think Roger deserves I'm not saying he don't. I just think that right now, no one can tell me what the cost is, what kind of logs we're doing, how much we're spending on gas, and for us to say it's okay, I'm gonna say, we need to be a little bit more, I don't know, at our disposals, have that information to people. I'm curious.
Does he even live 5 miles away from the town
You're,
garage?
you're making my point. If he lives less than 5 miles away, why is he gotta be on call to come here?
Because why, I don't know, I don't do his job.
That's what I'm
But I
saying.
know that I trust him, and I respect him, and I trust his judgment, and what he needs to do. And all I can say is, I'm not getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to deal with a tree, or to get everybody out there plowing. And if he says it's needed, or if it helps him, then I'm all for it.
Ready? I'll start all over.
Supplying trucks for all the employees to drive in here to work to get into a plow truck then also. You don't need it.
I have a question for Judge Sloat. When a judge comes out for an arraignment, do you receive a stipend? Is there any monetary stipend given when you get called in the middle of the night? Thank you.
It sounds like we're conflating many different issues here. The resolution was intended to simply codify an existing policy. What's being brought up is wanting to see an assessment or an analysis of the cost of the vehicles that we do have, and perhaps a prioritization of who should get them, and/or is there a need for more or fewer vehicles? That's what it sounds like. Is that a fair characterization? Al, I don't think
Yeah.
you're saying no. You're saying you want to see the data and you want to support the
Yeah, listen, ready?
prioritize that.
If I gotta give one vehicle away, it goes to Roger. I'm not against Roger not getting a vehicle. However, there's other people that are saying they need a vehicle, and then I'm looking at, I still don't know the validity of two people from the water district going out. Is the pipes breaking that much right now that we need to be on call? When was the last time we had to do a maintenance call, on call for water?
Well, water, somebody needs to go to the pump houses 24/7, 365. So yes, every weekend, they come in to do the logs or the charts. Julie and I.
When was the last time they had to do an on-call for water?
Last Sunday
Okay, all
and
right.
Saturday.
Did they need two cars or one?
For one.
Well, the supervisor the supervisor takes it home, the water superintendent, because in the event of an emergency, he's the first man on.
I don't have a problem with that.
Well, listen, since we got money, blowing all on vehicles, just add freaking the judge on there too. And Fossey too, might as well put him on there too. If he's not on there, my answer is no.
He's gotta go to the car auction first.
Your street's not getting plowed again.
Roger, listen, I don't know why you keep on going to Roger. Roger is #1 employee of the month. I got nothing against Roger and him getting a vehicle. That's not the point. The point is I got other people who don't get a vehicle and other people who I question are using a vehicle. And if we're not tracking what the operational cost is for our operational fleet, well, then we're doing a disservice to the public. And we can't answer that right now. Man, we're just shooting in the wind. And I'm not saying you got to be down to the gallon, to the penny. But-
I feel like this is a sixth grade discussion. You know, if Johnny can't have it, then neither can Mary or whatever. I mean, this has never been a controversy in previous years that I'm aware of. They're just,
Welcome to the party. It's a controversy right now because I'm making it one. And if you think it's sixth grade for not knowing how much we spend on vehicle maintenance and operations, well, okay, we'll wait till we get to seventh grade to find out what that cost is.
I mean, I don't believe that employees are taking their vehicles on vacation.
I didn't say they were.
They're being, either you're a
They're being
professional and you're doing what you need to do.
They're being
Have you ever
used.
taken a military vehicle home?
Home? No,
Never, okay.
no.
I move with that we
It's against the
table
law to
this.
take a military vehicle from your home
Thank
to
you, Matt.
domicile to go to work. What I'm asking is, before we decide who gets and who doesn't, if we can't ask the question of how much it costs right now, we're doing ourselves a disfavor, it's not a sixth grade answer.
It's fine with me. Anything over that, nope, he's on call.
Matt has made a motion that we table this discussion until we get more information. Entertain a second.
Oh, I'll get a second on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
I'm an aye for it.
Okay, next.
Sixth graders are not allowed to drive, by the way.
So Supervisor, since this was tabled, is there going to be a study done to look at the cost of the
We
vehicles?
we
as
will,
far
we
as-
will look at a study done and see about getting,
Listen, it's not that hard of a study. Why don't we just tell everyone that's getting a vehicle, that uses a vehicle right now, to hold a daily log, and after a month, we can determine what maybe the average is and what's the average is, so we understand what is really going out the door, and if we're in dire straits of monetary value, and we're just using that vehicle to go back and forth. And Greg, I don't want to put you on the spot. How many times have you done call-in in the last year? How many? Yeah.
yeah.
How many in the last year?
Sometimes 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay, so there's a valid need. I'm not disputing that. If there's a valid, I'm not saying the vehicles should never go back to the people. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we need to analyze. If I hear the judge says, which I think is important, that there arraign someone and he's coming in over 100 times, I think maybe he should have a vehicle, or the courthouse. Because that courthouse, if Fauci's on call, then you're on call, then it's a vehicle you'll both use.
Let's move on.
All right, that's beautiful.
Our last resolution is to adopt the amendments to the Human Resources Employee Handbook. We discussed them last week. Mostly it's just language. A couple of things that we just left out. Overtime on certain holidays is premium time in addition to the holiday time. Call-in pay, we pay the employees premium rate. Part-time employees who work in excess of 900 hours in the preceding calendar year and have completed 2 years of service are eligible for 20 years of paid vacation. The we're adding water superintendent, assistant water superintendent, and water distribution system operators for the clothing allowance, and the calculation of overtime and compensatory time includes that personal leave, vacation leave, sick time, holidays, and comp time are included as time worked, so that they're eligible for overtime. And motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So I am going to ask that we go into a brief executive session to discuss a union grievance, and I promise it will be brief. Can we have a motion to go into an executive session?
So moved.
That way you've got a hand out here.
But I would, oh, yeah, we'll have additional comments, true. Yes, I missed that, sorry. Any additional comments from anyone?
Is that mic on? There we go.
Can you hear me?
There we go. We want the sound to hear you.
Again, Woody Sloat, 3 Homestead Commons, Malta, one of the 2 judges from the judicial branch of government. Continuing on what I said before, it's not my intent to take a vehicle away from anybody, particularly the highway superintendent, which I don't know of any town in New York State where the highway superintendent doesn't have a vehicle.
I agree.
I do have some past with highway because my father was a light foreman for the New York State Department of Transportation, and he brought a vehicle home. He had a 3-county area. Nobody below his position had a vehicle. When he got called by the police to go check the roads, and which is probably something that Roger has to do occasionally, or if there was a tree down or something of that nature, he went out and checked it out. Then he would call his men in. His men would drive their own cars in. That's my point. Now, when you look at this, you're adding people. It's not 6th grade stuff. You're adding people that you're giving cars to. Earlier today, the supervisor talked about the fact that we do have some economic issues that we might have to have a town tax maybe someday. I don't think that's what she wants, but it was mentioned. This amount of cars or vehicles, whatever they are that you're adding to it, would be a substantial cost. That's something, as a citizen, I'm very concerned about. One person should call other people in. There's no need for these other vehicles. I'm totally familiar with the way things are laid up because I lived with my father my whole life. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, like I said, I get called out because that's part of my oath of office. It is mandatory, okay? It is mandatory. It's not something that I could stay home and say, I'm going to blow it off. Myself and my fellow judge, we have certain agreements, okay? That's why I do most of the call-outs. However, it's way more than 100. And everybody should be documenting it. Because if they're getting overtime to come in, then it's easy to figure out. I've done it for the last few years. I'm in my 5th year.
I'm going to ask a question. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know, what you're, to pretend to know your job. How many of those call-outs are actually incidents that happen in the town of Malta?
Whether they happen in the town of Malta or not, that's part of my oath of office when
I
I'm
know,
called.
but
I'm
what-
going to
what
respond. If
percentage?
you want me to break that down, I can.
Yeah, I
Because it's
appreciate
all,
that.
it's all documented,
Yeah.
okay? But there is plenty of them, and I don't, like when I get search warrants, I usually don't document that, but I'm going to start, and you're going to see it's going to rise, okay?
Again, I'd like to know, because, if they're not incidents in the town of Malta, then why doesn't the justice from the appropriate town be the one to respond? Why does it have to be you?
It's not my position to go and question a judge in another town, but it is under the law, under the criminal procedure law, that I am allowed to do that, and I am not going to jeopardize the citizens of this town to take a police officer off the road while they're looking for a judge. That's all part of it. Because when the sheriff's department or the state police have a prisoner in custody and he needs to be arraigned, that means you've got a patrol off the road. And that's a significant problem, especially at night, with the number of cars that are on the road.
All right,
And
thank you, Woody.
I got one more thing to say, so I understand, it's kind of like what the fire department does with mutual aid, right? We don't get reimbursed for that, but we go and help other communities because we're good neighbors and we want to remain that way. And it's a lot of cost. I mean, if you just do the 5 vehicles, one fuel tank a week, say it's $50 times that, it's going to be $13,000 to $15,000 a year, and that's being conservative, on fuel costs, and we don't know what that cost is. So there is a need for employees to take the vehicles home. I just think we don't haphazardly approve who gets it, who don't, and we're not even holding anyone to hold a log of the vehicle usage. So that's why I think we are going to, table it.
Are you done with me?
No, we're done with you.
Thank you, Woody.
Any other comment? Then I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Sandy, second?
Second.
Are we coming back or no? No more business?
No, so that's my next line. This board will not conduct any further business this evening, so,
You want Roger to go to the
Okay.
meeting?
huh?
You want Roger?
Roger in the meeting, please, and Julia.